And so I auditioned and they hired me. I was still like 21 years old at the time. I still had my military service obligation, but they started me, and I usually had the 4 to midnight shift because I was the kid, and the other ones were married and had families and wanted to be home and needed to be home. In fact, I would fill in on holidays for many of them. Anyway, I started, and about 2 months after I started, I had to go to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio for what turned out to be 8 weeks of basic training with the Oklahoma Air National Guard. The station let me go. Then I came back, and from there, I branched out. I didn't do sports for quite a while. I did radio news. I was a newscaster for probably 8 or 9 months. And then one day, the station program director on television said to me, "Hey, you know, we do Saturday night wrestling. And the guy who does wrestling is going on vacation for 2 weeks. We'd like you to do the wrestling show." Well, it's a hard way to break in with television, to be in a pro wrestling situation where you know not all of it was up and up. But that's what we did. And then after that, they had an audition to see who would be the play-by-play announcer of the Oklahoma football playback show on Sundays. The day after their game, that announcer would recap the whole game, play-by-play, each play, with an assistant coach sitting next to him. And I won that audition. And with that, I went into the television business more, although I kept my radio job the whole time. But that worked out. And then they said, "Okay, we're going to put you on the news every night at 10 o'clock. And so I went on as a sports announcer on the news from 10 to 10:30. And that continued on. Oh, gosh, I did that for, I guess, about 6 years. And one night, there was a mix-up in the station on my show. And I can't recall whether they got the film wrong, some visual wrong, or something that was really, really bad. And I went home and I told my wife, I said, "You know, these guys are amateurs. They just don't do the right things at the right time." And she made a comment that she later said, "I'm not sure I should have made, and I might regret." And she said to me, "If you don't like it, then find something else." Well, I got on the telephone the next morning, called a friend of mine who had been one of the news film cameramen in Oklahoma City. He had come to Channel 4. He'd come to NBC Burbank. And I said to him, "Do you know whether that station is looking for anybody in sports?" He said, "I'll call you back." He called me back. He said, "As a matter of fact, they're looking for a weekend sports anchor. So send me your tapes and something that I can show them." I did. They called me back and said, "We're interested in talking to you." They flew me to Los Angeles, sat down with me, talked to me, said, "We like your tape. We're willing to offer you a contract right now. And here is the sum that we will pay you." Well, I was flabbergasted. I thought I was coming into a big market and would make a lot of money right off the bat. I looked down at the figures and I was astonished. And I turned and said to the two bosses who were in the room with me, "Will I have a chance to make more money than this?" And one of them looked at me and said, "If you don't, you won't be here long." And